Welcome to Hearing What Matters, a podcast for Australians looking to know more about their hearing health, hearing loss, and hearing aids. My name is V. Tran, host of your podcast. I do work for Active Audiology, an independent clinic in Melbourne, and my purpose with this podcast is to deliver information that is controversial, independent, honest, for those looking to improve their hearing health knowledge and make informed decisions. Chris, great to have you back.
Thanks, Fee. Good to be back.
So there's a lot of discussion now with when people should upgrade their hearing aids. We're finding that hearing aids are almost, if not more advanced than your regular iPhone. And just like iPhones, they're always coming up with new ones. I wanted to ask you today why and when we should upgrade our hearing aids.
Yeah, it's a good question. I get that asked quite often in the clinic.
What are the signs that you need to get a new one?
Well, if we start at a technical level, the hearing aids are a piece of electronic hardware, and the life expectancy is usually around about 4, 5, maybe 6 years. Now, naturally, what will happen is they'll degrade over time. They'll become less efficient, they may become a bit intermittent, which will affect the performance. Basically, they might cut in and out in simple terms. But there's a number of reasons why people may change their hearing aids before the average 5-year period, let's say. The most common one is, like everything that's in the digital age, there's a lot of progression that occurs over a relatively shorter period of time. So they do become better, and people want something that's more improved to give them a better outcome, a better result. So they're striving for a better result there. That's reason number one. And look, the other reason is, as I just touched on before, is they do just degrade over time. And what happens is we may compensate for these changes over the years by making some fine-tuning adjustments to them. But eventually it gets to the point where electronically they fall outside of their specifications. So even though it might be working, it might be whistling, they may be hearing properly or hearing with them, they're really not working at their optimum. So that would be the time when you'd need to consider changing them over. Now, how do you assess that? The way that we would do that is we do have some device that can measure the certain parameters of the hearing aid, and we can check if they fall within specification, or alternatively, we send them to the hearing aid manufacturer and they perform the test for us.
Right. So you're saying to me that whether I spend $2,000 or $5,000 on a hearing aid at the time that it's fit to me, it's still only going to last me 5 years or so?
Roughly is about 5, maybe 7 years.
Sure. What can I do to extend the life of them?
Really, the best thing that you can do is just look after them, maintain them. So what I mean by that is keep them clean. Always clear any debris, any wax that may accumulate on them. Keep them in a dry environment. So even using any moisture absorbing silica gel sachets, you can buy electronic dehumidifiers that help absorb the moisture, which will prolong the life of the electronics within the hearing aid. They sit in a very hot and moist environment in your ear canal. So it's not a case of will it ever happen, it's more about when. Now, you can prolong that by taking just some simple steps that I talked about, keeping them clean and dry.
I see. So other than the actual mechanics of them degrading over time, talk to me about the technology. In 5 years, I imagine a lot changes like it does for your average iPhone, right? Are the changes worth upgrading for?
Look, absolutely, yes. In most cases, it is, because everyone's circumstances change as well, their personal circumstances. They might have different listening needs. And the technology changes so rapidly these days that the end result is always for a better outcome. So they do get better at working at hearing, picking up speech, and also improvements do occur, significant improvements do occur over time by helping you hear speech better in noise, which is the most common problem that people experience.
What about AI? What role has that got right now with the hearing aids being released into the market versus what it was 5 years ago?
Artificial intelligence, it certainly is making its way into hearing aids, and essentially the way that it's working is it's the end result is just for a better outcome. So rather than employing features that give you a general improvement, now with the introduction of AI, it can be quite specific and tailored to the environment that you're in, and choose the most appropriate settings based on where you are. Also incorporating head movements. Some hearing aids use accelerometers, which tell which direction your head is turning, whether you're moving up and down, so they know if you're walking or if you're stationary. And together with the other changes, where they can be very specific to identify what environment you're in, it results in a much better outcome to hear conversation and speech.
So, Chris, I was speaking to a client who bought her hearing aids 3 years ago, and they work great in quiet environments at home when she's watching TV. Where she struggles with them, say when she's going out to a restaurant in groups and there's people, waiters moving around, lots of background noise. So if she bought these aids 3 years ago and in that environment they're struggling, if she was to upgrade her hearing aid, how would she then experience that environment now with the current technology, especially with what you've talked about with AI? How would that feel differently to her with current or new aids?
The biggest difference would be hearing more in that environment and making that environment a lot more comfortable to be in. So what I mean by that is being able to follow more of the conversation and sounding more natural, but also the device being able to manage that noise so that there aren't situations where there might be plates clanging or someone with a loud voice that becomes quite intrusive and can affect the comfort to be in that environment, where you may even make some adjustments by turning the volume down if you've got control to do that, which then compromises how well you can hear. So with the current device, it eliminates the needs or significantly reduces the need to make any manual adjustments, because it can compensate and adjust to the environment much, much better. Even in 3 years, it doesn't seem like a long period of time, but again, in this age of digital age and artificial intelligence, they have progressed quite a lot.
Yes, I see. You mentioned before how lifestyle changes can be a reason to upgrade. Can you talk to me about what type of lifestyle changes would require a different hearing aid to what you would have bought 1 or 2 years ago?
I guess it's more of if you've gained the confidence to get out more after you've had your first set of hearing aids.
Yeah, great.
So you're, rather than being leading a more quieter life in the past, whereas now you're venturing out more, you're joining social groups, you're participating more in more group activities in cafes and restaurants, but you may not be quite achieving the result that you're wanting, then that's a very good reason to do that, to upgrade and find a device that works better in those environments, just to give you more confidence, to make it a more pleasurable experience and a more comfortable experience.
And should you stick to the same brand if you're going to get the second pair of hearing aids?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, because over time, individuals can develop an affinity or an adaptation towards particular brands. Now, sometimes...
Are some better than others?
In my opinion, yes. Yeah, there are differences. So each manufacturer will have their high, middle and low level technology device. But what separates the manufacturers is the the unique way that they process the sound, the algorithms that they use, which results in the performance of the device. So every manufacturer does something differently. Now, some people do get used to the quality of the sound, which becomes inherent in their whole history of their product family. But sometimes it's a good idea to try something different. You don't even know what you don't know, or what you're missing out on.
Sure. Tell me, what role do regular hearing tests play in determining if an upgrade is necessary?
Having regular hearing assessments is critical because, firstly, in order to have a correctly fine-tuned device, it's important to know what hearing levels that we're working with. Because unfortunately, hearing will change over time, regardless. Whether or not you do or don't wear a hearing aid, it's something that will naturally occur. And most of us are going to experience it over our lifetime. But when you're wearing hearing aids, these small changes can have an impact on the performance of the device. So it is very important to know, to have accurate results in order to fine-tune the hearing aid to get the most out of it at that time.
I see. Now, not everyone has the luxury to buy a $2,000 or $3,000 pair of hearing aids, Chris, and then upgrade them a couple of years later. And for those that don't, what options are there if they're a bit hesitant to upgrade, but you know that they would benefit from them? What options do they have in financing that are paying for them?
Well, in Australia, fortunately, we've got a government scheme that provides funding towards hearing services. And
does insurance cover hearing aids?
Private health insurers, again, it's something that is worth discussing with your private health insurer, depending on the level of cover that you have. Another avenue for funding in Australia is if you've worked in noise environments. So there's at least in Victoria, the Victorian WorkSafe scheme. So you may be eligible to lodge a claim with WorkSafe and maybe receive compensation is one side, but the other side is receive hearing aids that are funded through WorkSafe.
Right.
Another potential avenue at this point is the NDIS scheme. If you're eligible for it, it may be possible to receive funding under that scheme.
How will I know whether I'm eligible for any of these?
The best thing is to contact us.
Sure.
And come in, and the first where to start is really to understand what the hearing levels are. So we do a hearing assessment. We develop an understanding of, and we'll ask the appropriate questions as to where you might be eligible for funding, and seek out what options you have, and then follow that path.
Right. So is there any final advice that you'd have for anyone who's sort of unsure on the fence? Like they've had their hearing aids for 3-4 years and they can tell they're just not working to standard and still having problems in those restaurant noisy environments. What's your advice to them?
My advice would be to firstly have the hearing aids assessed and to ensure that they're working at their optimum, but also try something. We offer free trials of hearing aids to give you an opportunity to try some current technology, not inside the perfect environment of our clinic rooms, but we let you take them home, you go out into that restaurant where you've been experiencing problems with your current device. Go to that party or regular meeting that you may have and try them out and hear what the difference is for yourself, because it's really the only way to gauge whether or not there's a difference and how much that difference is and what effect it has on you is to try these things, just like test driving a car.
Wow, so you can actually tell for yourself what the difference is.
Absolutely.
In your own environment.
Yeah, most definitely.
Chris, that has been again very informative and helpful for those perhaps needing to make a decision on their hearing aids. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Fee. It's great to be here again.